Hi, I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is my Vloggins. Yeah, and you'll notice the camera, hopefully, is a little bit cleaner. Hang on a sec. It's a little bit newer, so hopefully, you're getting a clearer picture and higher resolution and better audio, hopefully. Although you're still going to hear probably a slight bit of air conditioner, and that's because I live in the Antelope Valley, and that's it gets really hot out here. So anyhow, I had a really good weekend. It was kind of crazy where we had to negotiate a new cell phone for my wife and I, which we haven't done in half a year or whatever. Not half a year, sorry, in about a decade. We went a long time without new phones. So we had to go through that whole rigmarole and the hard sales of phone sales and stuff like that. I managed to get pages knocked out for Quarterly Stories Book 2, and it's getting closer and closer to being done with the rough and thumbnail phase, and I'm excited about that. I should probably explain what that is for anybody who's chiming in for the first time. So, did I say quarterly? Man, I'm still waking up. So, by quarterly, I probably meant 2 stories. I used to call it Quarterly Stories when I was serializing it in the first book form. And the website for it, that'll lead you directly to there, is quarterlystories.com, but you can also just go to joshuakemble.com to kind of see my work and stuff like that. But anyhow, so who am I? I'm an art director who's been art directing for about 7 years, and then I've been a professional illustrator and graphic designer for over 15 years. And this is my vlog where I hold myself accountable to getting personal projects done, and I also talk about just my life and my art and things that are coming up. So, some really important news from this weekend. Another thing I wanted to do this Saturday, and I will probably do it next Saturday and proceed to do it every single Saturday that I can, was to stop by a bunch of comic shops. So I stopped by a few comic shops. I made some contacts, talked to some people who might be interested in doing in-store signings of my first graphic novel, 2 Stories, book 1. And I also ended up booking an in-store signing as well at a local record shop. So on the 2nd, so far there's 2 that I have secured and are happening. So on the 2nd of June, I'll be doing a signing at Bases Cards and Comics, which is in Lancaster, California. I'm going to kind of start in my hometown and then kind of work my way out, probably closer on a slow roll to LA. But yeah, that's the first event, is on June 2nd, and it starts at 10 o'clock, and it should run till basically the store closing, but I think that's around 6 o'clock. So 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on June 2nd, that is where I'll be doing a signing. And I'm thinking at that event too that I'm going to bring some drawing materials to maybe do some free drawings, as many as I can for people. And I also will be signing books and talking to people, and hopefully, people who are local to Southern California, it's not too much of a drive for them. And hopefully, we'll see how that turns out. So that's the first event. And then the second event is on June 3rd, and it's another signing, and this one starts at 2 o'clock p.m., and that's going to be at Voodoo Vinyl in Lancaster, California, and that's right off of Lancaster Boulevard. It is right on Lancaster Boulevard, and it's a really cool indie record shop, and I just thought it would be a cool place to do a signing because indie comics have a long history of being kind of hand in hand with indie rock and music, and I'm a fan of vinyl records and record shops in general. So I thought, hey, that's a win-win. I can go there, sell some comic books. Hopefully it'll draw more people in to check out vinyl and check out just this awesome store that somehow exists in the Antelope Valley. And growing up, like, I would have killed to have like a rad like vinyl record shop like that in my hometown, and the fact that one even exists is just so exciting. The fact that I get to do a signing for them for Voodoo Vinyl in Lancaster, California. I think there's 2 locations. There's one in Newhall, so I just want to be clear, this is the one in Lancaster. But yeah, so that's 2 signings in my hometown, and those are coming up on June 2nd and June 3rd. So hopefully, like, if you guys watch these vlogs or anything like that, and you're in the LA area, you can come out. But at the same time, I know it's a long drive, and hopefully I'll eventually be kind of heading in your direction as well. But whatever support people can show at these early signings, the better. So yeah, I'm excited about those events. It's been a long time since I've done in-store signings and conventions, because I had this whole rule for myself that until I finished 2 Stories Book 1, I wouldn't allow myself to even attend conventions. And that was just used as like a carrot that I would chase as I was making this book. Turns out the first book took me about 5 years to make, so that means like about half a decade that I've been out of even attending conventions. And so because of that, there was a bunch of stuff I had to reorder, and new things I needed. Like, I needed to get a new banner, so I got a new banner. I needed, obviously, a tablecloth. Like, you never want to do conventions without a tablecloth. Like, always bring your own tablecloth. Because sometimes, especially cons or local signings, sometimes they'll just give you a table. And aesthetically, like, not having a tablecloth usually just doesn't look great, and then it also doesn't give you all that great space underneath the table to like store stuff, which is like super essential too. If you're gonna be doing it in the approach like me, I'm not taking like a whole chunk of a convention, you know, because I'm literally just gonna be selling like 2 books. My first comic, Numb, and then definitely highlighting 2 stories, because my goal there is to highlight my own self-authored and illustrated comics, and that's it. So it's going to be interesting. I got some stickers printed up that are giveaways. That'll be like the kid Josh character from 2 Stories Book 1. They're like going to be a little circular sticker in color with the kid's head, like in a kind of like floating head cartoon style. And I'm pretty excited about those. I have postcards coming that I'm also excited about. Those are going to just basically have the cover of the comic and then a lot of the press release information on the back. So hopefully those can be giveaways as well, and I don't run out too quick of those. I'm ordering in like slightly smaller quantities at first, these things, because I can kind of refill them as I go. On in-stores and stuff like that. And hey, you know, running out of inventory, especially books, is a good problem to have. So that's the problem I want to have. I want to run out of inventory. So we'll see how it goes. Because this in-store thing is a complete gamble, and kind of an experiment. I will say, from my memories of in-stores, and this is when I was first starting out in comics, right after I had gotten the Zarek grant, I did a bunch of conventions to promote Numb, my first comic, and then I just gradually started doing conventions yearly after that, and kind of built out from like just having nothing at a booth to having like prints, postcards, like skateboards, pins, like everything, you name it. And the one thing I noticed was that like I would make more money the more I added, but also the more I added, that it would actually, I think, take away from book sales. And what I realized, like, going into it this time is like my whole goal is to promote my book and to get more readers for my book. Like, I'm not super interested in like coming out with like a ton of money, especially at an in-store where I'm not having to, other than investing in the things that I need, like other things I picked up and invested in were like, there's a stacked book rack that's really awesome that I got, and I can't wait for that to come in. That still hasn't been delivered. I also got like little easels, so I have a little bit of flexibility. Like if I have to sign at a store that's like very tiny, it might be better to just use the book easels. Regardless, like when you have a table, you want stuff like front faced and then flat faced, right? So like you have something to draw people in, and then also when they get close, like they have something to look down at on the table. Got all of that stuff. Got a credit card reader that's coming in the mail, which is pretty cool, because I know, like a lot of people, especially nowadays, are just not going to be carrying cash with them, and so that's really exciting. I'm trying to think of what else I got. I actually think that's pretty much it, because it's a very simple pared down table. Like I'm not, again, like my point is to just sell 2 stories, and then Num is there because I have still got a bunch of the second printing of Num, because this is like back in the day when you'd have to order from like Le Bon Bon and do like runs of like 2,000 or 3,000, and my first printing sold out, and like a newbie in comics, I was just like, well, I don't want this to be out of print, so I ran an equally sized second printing, and I still have probably about 1,000 in my garage, which is great because I have inventory for shows and stuff like this. And then also it's been so long, like it also gives me something that I can trade people, because there is a little bit of trading that goes on at conventions sometimes. So that's cool, because then I don't look like a jerk because I don't have anything I want to trade, but I also don't have to like part with like an item that is worth like $20 to trade for somebody's like $2 each, so there's that, and I'm excited about that. But yeah, so what I was getting at is overall like a very big success, and so far like my tactic of just going in store, meeting with people, establishing relationships, and starting that dialogue going seems to be fruitful. I guess we'll just kind of have to see. A lot of these stores that I've gone to on Saturday, I'll probably have to touch base with again, and I need to come up with some kind of tracking system to see which stores I have hit up, and I need to contact again that like expressed interest. So far, most stores that I talked to were really excited about it, and it was just a matter of like kind of being there when management is there. And so a lot of that, an in-store could be booked with a simple phone call. The nice thing too is so far when people actually see 2 stories, they're like, oh yeah, dude, we got to do a signing, which is really exciting. So I'm excited. I know I've been saying excited a lot on this, but overall I'm like really excited about starting to get the gears turning for this sort of thing. Obviously I'm going to be limited on weekday signings, because I have a full-time job as an art director, and so each time I'm going to be like pulling from vacation time, and there's certain times of year where that's just not even going to be possible. So that's something I need to consider too. But like I said, I'm glad I have like the first 2 things lined up, like the first 2 ducks in a row for my first 2 signings. One is probably going to have a better turnout than the other. I'm guessing that the record store, it's more of a gamble. I have no idea if that's going to be more successful or less successful than the comic shop, or if both are just going to be like scenarios where I'm sitting at a store all day and like nobody comes in, because I've totally been in that scenario too. That's where I was going. So when I was younger and did do signings and did do a lot of in-store signings, like after I got to Zarek and was starting to make the rounds and doing like my absolute first in-stores, I remember it just varied. It varied all over the place. Like you'd do an in-store and you'd have like tons of people, you'd have like maybe even a line, and like they were just excited to find new work and like find out about somebody they'd never heard of, or maybe they saw like some random news article and were like, this looks interesting, I'll check it out, and you do fine. But then there were some stores where you'd show up and like literally the only person to buy your comic was like the owner as like a sympathy buy at the end of the signing. And that's been my experience with it, where as I got further and further in the industry, and especially when I was really like, this is a long time ago, because like I said, right now it's like I'm probably nobody to most people. But there was a point in time where my art was super popular on Threadless, and also my friend Kevin Cross and I were doing a podcast at the time that was fairly popular called Big Illustration Party Time. And so we would just announce on the podcast, like, hey, we're going to be at this convention, because Kevin and I used to booth together under the Big Illustration Party Time banner. And just by that announcement on our podcasts, because we had like a significant amount of listeners at the time, we'd have like a line show up like the second we were at a convention just because of Big Illustration Party Time. And then that in itself becomes like a self-fulfilling thing, where like if you have a line when you first get to a convention, like more people start filling that line afterwards, because they're like, hey, what's up with this booth? Like, this seems to have a line. And so it was, like that was a cool experience too. But I've also had conventions where it's like completely dead. And I've had a long career, so I've seen ups and downs and ebbs and flows. And so I know going into this, like there's a high likelihood like no one will show up. There's also a high likelihood that like maybe this whole experiment with just like only selling my comics, and then even with that, like I'm thinking I'm probably not going to even charge for sketches, because that opens me up for like the freedom of like, if I'm at a signing and I have like 50 people, that's not going to happen. But the point being, like, if I am at a signing and I need to sell books to like a bunch of people in a row, like if people want to wait and I can do a sketch if I can before the event's over, great, and like I'm not going to charge for it. And the nice thing about not charging for it, like in that case, is like it keeps the focus on the book, and I'm not trashing anybody who does charge, because you should charge for art. But like in this case, it's like I want to be able to give people a loose, quick drawing, and also I want to not have the obligation of like finishing a bunch of like really nice art in a very short time frame, and also selling books, because I feel like it could pull from my ability to like engage with people and stuff like that. So I guess it's like almost like I'm viewing it as like a loss leader. For the book, because again, my goal is just to like move books, and if that means like a slightly lower amount of profit for myself but a higher amount of books moved, that's great, because that kind of thing generates more interest. The other thing is, I've just had this realization over the years that the guys I remember from conventions have very clear branding. One of the guys I think of all the time is like this dude who dresses up as a flower, and he was at like a ton of comic conventions. I think he still does it, but it's like, he had a comic called Bob the Angry Flower, and like everyone knew that character and that guy. I also think of like Shannon Wheeler and Too Much Coffee Man, where it's like you'd go to Shannon Wheeler's booth and you'd know, like, you'd have him branded with Too Much Coffee Man. And that's because every time at his booth, like, everything was related to Too Much Coffee Man. So, yeah, anyhow, I just, for myself, like, that's sort of the path I want to try to go when promoting this book. And I also just want to see, as an experiment, like, what happens when I take all the distractions off the table, but the thing I really want to sell, save for, like, one other thing, which is my other work that I think aesthetically ties in with it, because once again, it's the self-authored cartoony stuff, like the stuff that I built from nothing or whatever. So yeah, so that's all stuff that's on my mind. I'm really excited about it. I also had a really good indie review show with Corey Kerr, which you can check out at irsagency.com, where we went over Jim Henson's Tale of Sand, which is just a masterwork in comics, and definitely cool and worth checking out, especially if you haven't heard of it, because it's just a phenomenal book, and we kind of walk through why it's awesome. Let's see, other than that, I'm just basically heading to work. My goal today is to be positive at work, do the best job I can for my employer, making really creative stuff. And then I also forgot to mention, but it's like my birthday, which is pretty cool. I'm not planning on doing anything super special today, because I don't know. Maybe we'll do something on the weekend or something. But like, to me, the idea of like these signings and stuff like that, to me, is like kind of gift I want. Like, I actually want to see my book move, and it is moving. And I've done a lot of this online, but just having had that 2 weeks since my second vaccine open up the possibility of doing in-stores, it's like seeing a light at the end of the tunnel for having an avenue for promotion for my own stuff. So yeah, I don't know. And again, I feel like I'm very fortunate for a lot of things. Like, I'm really fortunate to have a creative career. I'm super fortunate to have a finished book and have been able to do that. I'm fortunate to have had Marcosia Enterprises like pick it up and print it, and also kind of give it a little bit more like a sense of being more substantial, because it's a publisher that quite a few comic shops I've heard of and have ordered from. So like, going into those shops, it's not as much of a gamble when I'm saying like, hey, I've got this book, it's out from Marcosia. Like, a lot of the comic shops that I've talked to so far are just like, oh yeah, Marcosia, which is great. So that's gonna help me too. And again, I'm just like really fortunate. I'm really fortunate too, just to just that like any store or any person is willing to like pick up the book and check it out, because I feel like the second they do, they're going to be rewarded by like a really a well-crafted, well-told story that I think comes really directly from my heart, as corny as that is. It's an authentic story. It's a story that I'm really pouring my soul into, and it's cool that like there are people who have actually checked it out and gotten that from it, which is really cool. So yeah, that's basically it. I will say I'm gonna probably cut the vlog now, because I'm gonna listen to Kim Gordon's audiobook about being in Sonic Youth. So I think it's called Girl in a Band, and it just sounds awesome, and I love Sonic Youth, and I also just think Kim Gordon's a badass. So yeah, so that's it, and I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you're having a productive work week and stuff like that, and also just killing it on your own creative projects. And I will say, like, there's one other thing I'm really and this might be bad. I don't think this is bad pride. I think this is good pride. I am proud of myself, nerdily enough, for this week overcoming that hurdle of like just utter terror, and I don't know why, because I've been in this game for a long time, but anytime I have to like walk into like a retail establishment, be like, hi, I'm this guy you've never heard of, I have a book, that kind of thing, it's a little bit humiliating, and also I feel like I'm kind of putting the person out, and so there's this moment of like kind of mild terror that I feel before I go into the store to kind of set these things up. And what's neat is, at least so far, I've been really rewarded by like just overcoming that and being like, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm a salesperson for my own book. And the cool thing is, it's a book I really believe in. And the easiest thing to sell is something you really believe in, and I really think will give value to whoever buys it. So I'm just personally kind of proud that I was able to overcome like any sense of hesitancy, and kind of see that. I will also say right now I'm behind an oversized load truck on a 2-lane highway, and that is just obnoxious because it's literally blocking both lanes. So I should probably go. All right, I will see you guys on probably Artcasters, or honestly I might do a live stream tonight because I'm trying to kind of maintain doing the like a page a night for book 2, because that's the other thing. As exciting as all these signings and like stuff that I'm trying to get going is, I have 2 jobs right now on my own personal creative projects. One is to get book 2 of 2 stories completed. Like I need to. It's meant to be a 2-book. I also don't want to keep people waiting, like people who have invested in buying the book. I know that most people will understand that like 120 pages of comics is going to take a lot longer than like 32 or 24, and that it's an indie book, and I do think people are patient, but still I really want to get it to people as soon as I possibly can, but with the highest quality I can, and that's going to require like a nightly and daily dedication. I also oh man, this oversized load truck is just unbelievable. Anyhow, so that's basically what's on my mind and what I'm thinking about right now. And yeah, I mean, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. And I'm gonna kind of head out so that I don't, so that I can find a way around this oversized load truck. All right, I'll probably see you guys on a live stream or something like that. If you haven't, pick up 2 Stories Book 1 on Amazon, and if you're in the Southern California area, especially like very far on the edges of LA County, in the Antelope Valley, please feel free to stop by Bases Comics and Cards on the 2nd. It's from 10 to 6. And then similarly, like, Voodoo Vinyl on Lancaster Boulevard on 3rd, from 2 to I think 2 to 6 or 2 to 8. I think it just depends on like how many people show up, because that's also the reason they're doing that on Thursday is there's like a Thursday farmers market, and that brings a lot more traffic to the boulevard. So they actually thought that would be better for me. To have like a better kind of turnout and better luck, like with basically the customers and stuff. So anyhow, I am really excited about all of this nonsense, and I hope you guys are too. And I will talk to you possibly on a live stream tonight, or possibly not. But see you guys. Bye.